Hello, and welcome to the Monkey Nut Punch podcast, where I'm joined by my ever faithful, rotund co-host Keith. Hello, Keith.
That's almost kind. Must be my birthday. That was almost kind. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Had a pretty good week.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just all right.
I was away for a week in a luxury resort with a private pool.
Oh
yeah.
So
Not
you didn't
too
have any.
bad.
So you didn't have any of what do you call it? Like Greenpeace try to roll you back into the sea like you normally get when you go on a beach holiday.
No, none of that shit. It was a lovely week.
And trying to keep
Go on.
trying to keep the Japanese sailors away from you with their harpoons. Sorry, can't help myself.
Anyway,
Such a git.
what's the news? What are we doing?
News?
What are we
News. We got some Peter Capaldi news. Some oh my god, isn't it dead yet? Acolyte news, and Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. Some Jurassic World news and yeah, I read something else involving Christopher Reeves. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So, shall we get on with our first story? Let's
Hey, Bitter.
let's
Talk about that in a minute.
Okay, hang on. Let's do that.
Hi, this is Nigel, and I'm talking in my lovely narrator's voice. Bask in its loveliness. But don't bask for too long! We need your help! Come to YouTube and watch our videos for the love of God! Well, send Keith round to your next barbecue and he'll eat all your food. Toasty! You have been warned.
Peter Capaldi's crime thriller Criminal Record has officially been renewed for a season 2 on Apple TV+. The show set in London starring Peter Capaldi as Detective Inspector Daniel Hegarty, who's paired up with Detective Sergeant June Lenker, played by Crush Jumbo. The dynamic between these two characters is a clash and tension-filled atmosphere of the Metropolitan Police Force is at the heart of this gripping series. Season 2 will set to explore more politically charged cases and test their fragile alliance. I haven't watched the first season. I think I watched like 2 episodes of it and I didn't like it. Did you watch?
I thought you finished watching it.
Nah, I love watching Peter Capaldi, but Crush Jumbo put me off
You
of it.
finished watching it with me. Yeah, I did watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it to the end because it was pretty good.
I want to follow up to the Devil's Hour. That's what I want.
Can you follow up to that though? I mean, it kind of was sort of, revolving. It kind of finished off its thing. This was good, and he was very good in this.
Oh, he's good. He's good in everything. He's like bloody Bill Nye. You put him in something, he always gives 110%. If you've cast him, you're a fucking winner there.
I quite enjoyed this. I thought we watched it together and talked about it.
I think we talked about the first 2 episodes.
Well, I continued to watch it, and it got better. And the ending was pretty good. But it did leave room for more, shall we say? Okay. I mean, he is dodgy, but how dodgy he is still up for debate. So, but definitely dodgy, definitely dodgy. But yeah, I enjoyed the first season of this. It was a good British sort of crime drama with Peter Capaldi being slightly dodgy.
Yeah. It's just I can remember the first 2 episodes and him being iffy in that because he was driving a limousine or something. It's like a part-time job.
Yeah,
and he was definitely up to something, which I don't know came out further down the line. But yeah, it's I just like Peter Capaldi. We'll do because Slow Horses is coming back
on Wednesday.
on Wednesday. I will probably give it another go. It's weird because I'm
It's
having
quite
to.
good. I mean, I thought it already announced a season 2, so the fact that this has only just come, I thought, okay, well, that's a good bit of news. It needs a season 2 to finish off the story. And yes, I know. Don't. No, I know, Biffa. I know.
What's this?
I'm very upset about it. But anyway. So yeah, no, I thought there was going to be. I thought they'd already announced the season 2, but apparently not. So this is good news.
Okay. Well, it's, downside is it is on Apple TV, which means exposure is quite low.
Well, you say that, but everybody's bloody heard of Ted Lasso and watched it, apparently. So, I think Apple TV has quite a good number of subscriptions, you know.
I'm going to check. I'm going to check. Because I think it's if you look at it, I saw a chart, and Apple TV was like the thinnest part of the wedge, along with Disney Plus, which isn't good for either company. But then again, Apple can afford to do it, because the idea of the Apple thing is not to entertain you, is to keep you inside their ecosystem. So you're buying their films and renting their bits, this, that, and the other, and that. And I'll have to find so I can find that graph. But yes, it's I'll give it a watch again. Yeah, because I've got the opportunity to give it a watch, and I'll be able to make a second judgment on it. But it's Peter Capaldi. I want to see him. I want to see the man employed. Sounds an odd thing to say. I want to see him employed. He's worth it. He really is. He's a great actor, and it's a shame, you know, because I think that there's probably some bigger, better roles out there for him, be it in TV, film, or even theatre, that he'd probably be absolutely fantastic at. But hey,
back as the Doctor.
that would, yeah. But they bring back his Doctor and he'd be gay, because that's what they do now, isn't it? Bring back, make him gay. Put a chick in it, make her gay, make it late. So yeah, let's move on to our next story, which is probably have you a bit more animated. We'll have this.
Hans Briggs! Oh no!
The cancellation of Disney Plus series The Acolyte has sparked a conversation with the lead actress Amandla Stenberg, openly addressing the reasons behind its abrupt ending. Despite the critical praise, she faced significant backlash from a segment of the Star Wars fan base who engaged in review bombing and targeted the show with hateful rhetoric. Stenberg also played the roles of the twins, Osha and May, reflected on her experience, attributing the cancellation partly to the vitriol and bigotry directed at the series, particularly from its alt-right fans. Bullshit. Bullshit. With more bullshit. It was shit. It looked shit. The story was shit. She was shit. Everyone else, apart from Master Squid Games and the Acolyte, the evil Jedi or Sith or whatever the fuck they call it, were the only good things in it.
I mean, have you seen any of the YouTube reviews of her video that she put out, where she's sitting there doing her hair? Like, I mean, she can't even be bothered to talk to the camera when she's spinning this shit. She's sitting there doing her hair like she's talking to her mate on the phone, and she's not that. She seems like a bit disinterested. I mean, this is the behaviour of a rich, privileged little LA clique bitch, right? Who goes around everybody going, I'm non-binary. I'm non-binary. I'm going to live my life as a woman, dress as a woman, act as a woman, but I'm going to tell everybody to call me they, them, because it makes me feel special. Because, you know, having a rich daddy that gave me everything I ever fucking wanted, being a fucking Disney star and being on the Disney payroll since I was a young person, and basically had everything given to me, isn't enough, right? I'm now going to be called a they, them. Even though I'm going to live my life completely as a woman as a female, as a girl. I'm going to be called a they them. She even says, "I live in a bubble." You're right. You live in a bubble. You live in your bubble of your own narcissism.
Danish actress Amandla Stenberg.
Yes, I mean, banging
She's
on about
Danish.
the oppression of your people. What? The fucking Danish? I don't think the
Yeah.
Danish were ever fucking oppressed. And they make damn
Mate-
good bacon.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a the bacon. Maybe she wasn't allowed bacon as a child. Maybe she grew up in a baconless house in Denmark.
I mean, a lot of the. I mean, you know, that fucking diss track that she released did the Acolyte no bloody favours. I mean, arguably, she's partly responsible for it being shit. You know, she is partly responsible for this. I mean, I think more people would have really watched this if she kept her fucking gob shut. But she didn't. And then she goes and releases this latest monstrosity video where she's sitting there doing her hair. I mean, and everybody bangs on about how lovely it's supposed to, and just spouting this same old crap. Alt-right, Nazis, racism. There's nothing to, there's no racism in this. You're a spoiled narcissistic bitch that can't act for shit, right? Releases diss tracks dissing the people that you want on your side, as in journalists and things like that, let alone the fans, and then blame it on racists. I'm telling you now, this show was not cancelled because of the racists. It wasn't cancelled because of YouTubers, you know, having a go at this. YouTubers want this to have a second season because they made a shitload of money off it. Unlike Disney, who didn't make any money off it because nobody watched it. And it isn't because of the people on YouTube. It's not because of the likes of you and me. It's not the likes of the Fandom Menace and all those people. It's because it was shit. And people watched the first episode and went, this is shit. And didn't watch any more of it. Fires in Space might have had something to do with it. You know, non-identical twins growing up to become identical twins. An actress playing both twins exactly the fucking same. And that's just one, a couple of many problems with this show. We knew, you know, Leslie Headland, Harvey Weinstein's former fucking thing. I'm sorry, but she knew. She must have done. Yet, and this crazy little narcissistic bitch releases this video. I mean, Gareth, it's just pure living in a bubble of privilege. And not having a clue and going on about how her people are oppressed. What, girl? You've never been oppressed in your life.
You've got no idea what fucking oppression is like. When you can say you can feel oppressed when you have to go without a meal to pay the electricity bill. You can tell me you're feeling oppressed, and I don't think you've ever done that. Yeah, you've probably gone without a meal, but not so you can pay the bloody electricity bill.
She's never wanted for anything. She's never.
No, she hasn't.
It's obvious.
So
it's obvious, and so she can bang on about all this. You know, releasing a diss track. Who paid for that? Who paid for that production? I mean, it had production.
I've had two good bits of commentary on her. One was from a person called Jay Longbone. If you've ever watched her, she did great Batwoman coverage when it was out. She's got a great sense of humour, and it carries into her videos and whatnot. But she describes Amandla Stenberg as a prop. She's just there so she can tick the boxes, and it didn't matter about her acting ability or standard or anything. And then the other one I heard was that she comes from the participation generation, where you get a trophy just for participating. And because she's done this, she's expecting people to reward her for this, just because she participates. She doesn't understand now, out in the real world, it's meritocracy. You do well, you get rewarded, you get noticed, yeah? And then even sometimes you do well, but you don't get noticed and you don't get rewarded either. And she can't grasp that concept. So she thinks any criticism, because she should be being rewarded for doing this, is hate. And I'll be honest with you, the criticism I've seen thrown at her, and that none of it is, I've seen no racist thing, and she's not provided anything, yeah? Even when we had Moses Ingram, yeah, she could have provided at least 3 tweets to say that she was getting some kind of racist hate towards her, yeah. So Moses Ingram could do that, but nothing from Amandla.
Sorry, I've got a scared little doggy who's just had a thunder crack. All right, darling. But you're right. I mean, sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me on this. She's just climbed up on the table. You're right though. I mean, I look. Racism is out there. There are always going to be dickheads on the internet that are going to send these comments, right? But I don't think it's that many. I think she sees one and therefore she times it by 100. That or implies that she's had 100 when she's had one. There is going to be somebody out there that's going to say something racist. There always is going to be. You know, if you are of a different religion, they're going to call you something. You know, anything they can pick you on you, they're going to do. That is everybody. It has nothing to do with just the colour of your skin. If you're Jewish, people are going to get anti-Semitism on there. If you're Catholic, somebody's going to have a go at you for being that. It doesn't matter what you are, what religion you are, what ethnicity you are. Some little dickhead on the internet is going to make a comment about it. You have to have thicker skin. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names never hurt me. Why hasn't this fucking Steinberg's generation learnt that? And she bangs on about, you know, how her people have been oppressed and all this bullshit. You have no idea, dear. And you are a she. You are, look, it doesn't matter what the views are on non-binary, but you're not non-binary. You're saying that because it makes you feel that bit more special. Or it basically makes your narcissism more. Because you're a narcissistic little cow. That's it. That's all it is. You're not special. You're not. You know, you've grown up on daddy's dime. And, you know,
Yeah.
You basically are biting the hand that feeds you. You do realise by blaming the alt-right and saying it's racist that cancelled it, are just going to make Disney look more stupid. Because people are now attacking Disney based upon what you said. And the truth of it is, nobody watched this show, and that's why Disney cancelled it. And it has nothing to do with the people on YouTube. People said on YouTube it was shit because it was. It was dumb. And I'm sorry, right? But you know, when something is good, people say they like it, right? And they don't attack it. Picard season 3, I keep banging on about it because I watched it again this week because there was nothing else to watch, and it's still good. That's got women in it. Did I hear any toxic misogyny? No. Right? When Tuvok showed up, who's black, everybody fucking loved it. Was there any ties of racism then? No. Right?
No, the biggest... Right, hang on a second. The biggest cry of problem with Star Trek Voyager, just as an example, is the fact that Janeway didn't know how to put timers on fucking explosives, so she could have got everyone home and blew the thing up 10 minutes after.
I know.
Janeway, come on. That's the biggest bloody thing in the entire series. Out of all the things you've done, that's the one that I just go, ugh. Didn't make up for it in Year of Hell.
There's so many shows out there that people, you know, have liked, that have been diverse, that have had different characters in there, homosexual characters and things like that. And why have they liked them? Because it's been well written. It's been well acted. So to blame it on the alt-right, to say your show was... To make out that your show was some kind of leading because a lesbian wrote it. There are plenty of other gay fucking writers out there that are writing great stuff. I mean, at one point, Russell T Davies did write good fucking stuff and people celebrated him for it, right? Now that he's writing shit stuff and banging on about disabled people being evil, now people don't like him. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's gay. It's because he's writing shit. Right?
He's under the impression that
excuse. Go on, sorry.
He's under the impression that disabled people are evil. That speaks volumes about you. It really does. It so does. It's like I think that we've just people with disfigurements and that we've just even no. It's been 50-50 roughly. It's always been 50-50. It's always been like a twist in the storyline. Yeah. I struggle with this. The fact that you can clearly see that Hollywood's in a bubble, and that bubble is shrinking. There are so many things moving away from Hollywood at the moment. Yeah, there are. Amazon have built giant movie studios near me, and so have Netflix. Yeah, because they want to get away from the bubble. Oh, there is one thing. There's one thing we didn't put on the list, and I don't know if you watched it.
What's that?
Rings of Power.
I have watched it. The first
Why
episode.
did you watch it?
I
Why?
downloaded it.
Did you download it legally?
Prime. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm not giving Amazon views for it. No.
Okay.
Yes, no, I watched it. I watched the first episode and went, yeah, this is worse than the first season. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
I mean, I love the fact that they're all blaming, the likes of Critical Drinker and Gary. They're blaming them for the fact the Acolyte got cancelled. It's so deluded. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think she actually believes what she's saying. I do think she believes it, but it just makes it worse. It makes her look more out of touch, and it's just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous.
The big question is, how have people got like this? How have they got like this?
Because social media, things like that. I saw there was an interesting interview with Stephen Fry and John Cleese talking the other day. And these disruptors, these tech disruptors who have disrupted the world, and it hasn't replaced it with anything. Whereas people's opinions were like not controlled, but the crazies weren't listened to, and now they are. They're given a voice, and you're not allowed to question certain things anymore. You have to accept it. When something is clearly a mental health problem, and you should say it's mental health problems, you can't say that anymore. You have to accept it. And this is why. This is how this has happened.
I have a couple of. I've got like 3 acid tests to see if your opinion is skewed or leaned on by media. I won't do them on this because they will trigger the fuck out of someone when I just ask the question, and then I'll ask follow-up questions from that one question, and then if they can't, and then it's like you need to be able to, and then I'll be pushing them for an answer, and because there are certain opinions that people have, that have come from nowhere. And I mean it, and it is fucking disturbing. It is a bit of NPC culture, and it's not a person being completely NPC, but there are bits where people seem to just respout a line on something, and it's like kind of, you tell me something, I'll go prove it. That's my thing. You know me. You've had arguments with me, and I go, all right, okay, that's what you say. Prove it. I want to see it. And I'm a pain in the ass when I get into that mode. But there are people who have opinions that aren't theirs, which they repeat, which I find scary, and that partly is because of media. And Amandla Stenberg seems to be at the epicenter of this, and people like her are at the epicenter of this. And it's just seeing people not use any kind of critical thinking faculties drives me wild.
She's one of the more. She believes this bullshit. I have a feeling that Moses Ingram was just kind of caught up in it, right? Disney basically had a stinker on their hands, so they used Moses Ingram as a way to deflect the fact that Obi-Wan was shit. That Obi-Wan was shit. They used her to defend that. Whereas the Acolyte, they've cancelled it. So this isn't Disney doing this. This is the actors and actresses, and Disney opened that Pandora's box with Obi-Wan, and they did it with The Last Jedi, and that poor Asian actress. They did it there because they knew they had the reaction to The Last Jedi. I don't think they were expecting.
Right. So
I don't think they were expecting the vitriol they got. So
Kelly Marie Tran wasn't chased off of social media.
No.
Yeah. She chose to leave social media, like Muggins here chose to leave social media. Yeah, because it's just a festering cesspool in places. She didn't do that, but ironically, Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver were driven off of social media, but no one talks about that.
No.
Adam Driver had his wife or girlfriend, I think it's his wife now, threatened by Star Wars fans. So he got off, which I don't fucking blame him for. Same with Daisy Ridley, she had similar things. I think she come back, she returned because her career's a bit low. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to, hang on, let's move on to the next one. That one.
Now, we are.
The highly anticipated Jurassic World Rebirth has given fans their first glimpse into what to expect, with Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey leading the charge in this new installment of the beloved dinosaur franchise. Directed by Gareth Edwards and scripted by David Cope, this seventh film in the series picks up 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, in a world where dinosaurs are struggling to survive in isolated environments. The film promises a thrilling adventure centered around a covert operation to extract DNA from the last remaining giant dinosaurs with the aim of unlocking life-saving medical advancements. Ooh! So, I didn't know anything about this. I heard something a while back. I think we brought it up in the news. I didn't know Gareth Edwards was
I heard a rumour
doing
that they were making it, and then I heard that they cast Scarlett Johansson, which I thought, okay. The problem is, I like Jurassic Park the movie, kind of like Lost World. Jurassic Park 3 was a bit shit, but there were good moments in it from the original book, right? Then, it kind of went dead after that, and then they brought out Jurassic World, which genuinely was quite a good movie. The next one was shit, and Dominion wasn't that good. I mean, if you...
It had some nice member berries in it.
Yes,
it had nice member berries in it. I'll give it that.
The story was a bit lame, and... Yeah, it had a few link backs, and if you're a geek and you remember certain things from the original movie, yes, it was quite... there was moments, but I don't see how they can... They've got to come up with a new idea. They've got to come up with something different. Now, the premise of this does kind of sound different. But if it's just going to be get trapped on an island, escape island, which one of the premises kind of alludes to, we've seen it many, many times. You had all these dinosaurs on the mainland in Dominion, and that could have been interesting. There is something you could explore there. You could kind of do a not so kids movie, right? You could do something and explore the darker side of that. And they alluded to that in Dominion. I thought, well, here's an interesting premise.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be another sort of PG movie and basically dinosaur smash.
Alright, so if you and Gareth want you to make the next Jurassic World movie, I go, okay. Alright, so I would you're right, I would start from the premise the dinosaurs are on mainland, and I'd pick a continent, so it's either... I'm worried if I did it in mainland USA, especially around Texas, that they wouldn't last. But so they made it into like Italy, yeah. So the dinosaurs made it into Italy, and then it turns into the trying to contain them, and then failing to contain them, and then going from the non-lethal to lethal, and then having one character with the no, we need to preserve these things, another character going, well, no, these things are fucking mutants, they're not actually dinosaurs. Yeah, these are a mutant species that will overgrow like weeds in a garden, and then you can have that kind of clash between the two, and try and figure out some way of preserving the dinosaurs, and then maybe putting them in their own habitat and creating like the Lost World sort of place. It's like Madagascar or somewhere. That's it. We're just dropping them all in Madagascar. What about the Madagascar government? US, we don't care. something along those lines. But to do you know what this sounds like? It sounds. What was that film with the weird mutant creatures? And it was like a women's cast, and it had. Oh, it's like not Oblivion. It was. They had this bubble.
Portman.
Yes.
Natalie Portman.
Extermination,
Yeah, no,
Extraction,
Annihilation, wasn't it?
Annihilation. Thank you. Sounds a bit Annihilation-esque. Yeah, it sounds a bit Annihilation-esque. The other part of it too is you could lean into the mutant part a bit more. Yeah, so you could have it so that people are. It's more like genetics gone wild. If it makes any sense, where people are not crossbreeding, introducing genes that shouldn't be there. So imagine a cow 4 times the size. Yeah,
but they hinted at that in the last 2 movies, but have never. You're right.
Yes,
and I want them to explore that. I want them to do that. I want them to have, like. I want them to explore that more. I mean, look, I loved seeing Alan Grant back. I liked seeing Jeff Goldblum back. And it was great seeing them all back, and it was nostalgic. But there was a lot in that movie that basically went, if they made an R-rated movie set in this world that they've now created, and did something like that, looked at genetics, looked at the fucked up things that people were doing, which they are hinting at, basically like Raptor hit squads that they had kind of, that was quite interesting. And I thought, well, you could make an interesting movie here.
See, because the other thing is you could go like down the island of Dr. Moreau route, where they've got dinosaurs on the island, but on top of that, you've got people who have been augmented with dinosaur DNA. Yeah, so for example, like the lizard in Spider-Man can regrow limbs. Yeah, you could have one soldier gets an arm blown off and then it regrows, stuff like that. And then they can go like stealth or invisible or go cold-blooded, so you can't see them on heat sensors, etc. And then what you could do is have the twist that the Dr. Moreau, or whatever his name will be, has injected. He's put his DNA profile in there, so he acts as father to everything that was created there, and they all obey him. Yeah, because it's like kind of, it's got this. We're trying to figure out what this third part is. Yeah, we've pretty much identified it, but there's 3 bits here. This is human, this is dino, and this is. I think, I don't know. I'm not too sure. And it turns out it's his like little genetic key, so he can control everything, and he's augmented himself, so he can, act as like kind of the queen bee sort of thing. Something along there is stuff to be mined there, but I don't think that's the story. Just from that,
no.
I don't think that's the story.
It's got Scarlett in it, so I'll probably go see it.
Is there an obligatory bikini scene?
Well, there should be.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next one.
Well.
The documentary Super/Man, the Christopher Reeve Story, has released an official trailer offering a heart-filled glimpse into the life and legacy of late actor Christopher Reeve. The documentary promises to be a moving tribute to exploring Reeve's iconic role as Superman, his personal life, and the impact of the tragic accident that left him paralysed. It also highlights the enduring friendship with comedian Robin Williams and his resilience in the face of adversity. Set to stream on Max after a limited theatrical release, this is a documentary anticipated to resonate deeply with fans and newcomers alike. Bit of a strange one for you to pick, I'll be honest with you. So why this story, Keith?
Well, Superman, Christopher Reeve, the original Superman. I picked this because I grew up on Superman. It was either E.T., Superman, or Return of the Jedi. Those were the 3 pirate videos that my dad had when I was a kid, and they pacified me. So I grew up on Superman, 1 and 2. because obviously they were made at the same time. And I picked this because there's no other fucking news, and it's Christopher Reeve, isn't it? The guy is a legend. The guy is. A legend.
Was his dad? Didn't his dad George play Superman?
I don't know.
I'm sure he's Christopher. Hang on a second. I have to Google this now because I'm sure Christopher Reeve's father. Okay, it's called Christopher Nolan. Christopher father Benjamin Reeves. Okay, maybe it wasn't. Christopher Reeves. No, okay, maybe it's just an actor with the same name. Put the dog down.
I can't because he keeps climbing back up. Stay there, sweetheart.
Yeah, well, hang on a second. No, yeah, no, okay. There was an actor called George Reeves who played Superman in the 50s. When Superman's powers were a lot more bloody limited than what they are now. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's an odd one. It's like kind of Superman's an odd character, comic book wise. Yeah. So there's two ways of looking at Superman. Yeah. It's you've got this. They always describe it as being. I always hear certain people describe it as being like America. Superman's like America. Has all this power, but doesn't choose to wield it incorrectly. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I know that you're not the biggest fan of Superman, and I'm probably more of a fan of Batman these days. But growing up as a kid, you know, these were the comic book movies, and Superman, the Superman movies were kind of legend. I mean, you know, they are legendary movies. They have Marvin Brando was in there. You had all of these things, and they cast this guy, you know, who was a relative unknown, and she won't leave me alone. A relative unknown, and I, you know, it was a tragedy what happened to him. But the fact he then came back and starred in Smallville was kind of awesome. And I always remember the day he turned up in Smallville for the first time when you got there. As he turns up, you're just like,
yeah.
And I mean, look, I mean, if you grew up like me on Superman, I think you should watch this and celebrate him, because I mean, he played a hero on screen, but the truth of the matter is he was a hero, and there are a lot of people alive today because of him, and because he didn't give up when and because he paid all this money, and he campaigned, you know, until he died. I think it's a documentary that people should watch. So the reason I put it in is because, you know, I loved watching Superman as a kid. Those movies still mean something to me, I suppose. There were movies that I grew up on, just like E.T., just like Return of the Jedi. Probably why Return of the Jedi is still my favourite. I know, it's sacrilege. I know.
I was talking to Dexter about Star Wars films and Return of the Jedi and how it was my favourite until they put the musical scene in there. I could look past the Ewoks, but I couldn't look past the musical scene. Thanks, George.
I still love the Return of the Jedi. I like all three of them, but Return of the Jedi is the one that, you know, because again, I was old enough to go and see that in the cinema. I sat through it, and I remember Dad having it on a pirate bootleg. But it was E.T., that, and the Superman 1 and 2. And I always remember the weird, you know, people dressed in black leather. And again, I never realised who was playing Zod when I went to see Star Wars, and the original, you know, Terrence Stamp is the Chancellor. who gets ousted in Phantom Menace. Never connected it that was
Zod.
that was Zod. It was only sort of when it was pointed out to me that I realised it. I know that's really sad, but I don't know. I put it in there because there was no news, but I'm going to see this. I am going to see it because I'm interested to see it, and because I quite liked Christopher Reeve.
So, I was going to say, my issue with Superman is because he's got so much power and this, that, and the other, it makes him a very difficult character to write for, because you have to have a world-ending threat every time he goes into a fight for it to have any stakes, if that makes any sense, from a thingy. That's why the evil Superman is a much more appealing character. Doesn't matter whether you like it or not, it's a much more appealing character to write for, because trying to beat someone that bad, and that's why people like Batman versus Superman sort of stuff, especially like in The Dark Knight Returns, because that is like, he is the one to beat in the DC universe. You beat Superman, you've won. Yeah. And it's it's funny because it's got a bit of Moses about it in like his origin story, and it's weird how Batman has a bit of, I think it's like, I can't remember which Buddhist character that he's got a thing with too.
I have to say, I think and it's a shame they've cancelled it, but the guy that's currently playing him on the television, Superman and Lois, he's actually probably arguably my favourite Superman in a long time. I mean, I like What's His Face, but the movies were god awful. And I love Christopher Reeve, but he, Superman 3.
It's annoying because you could see that they were trying to put Brainiac in Superman 3. They were desperate to put Brainiac in there, but they couldn't get round to putting Brainiac in there. And it was the closest you got was when the woman gets the stuff on her, which I found really creepy as a fucking kid.
Yes. Superman 3, I really didn't like. The machine freaked me out. The machine, that whole thing freaked me out. And then Superman 4 was just weird.
Superman 3 did have what's his mush? Oh, what is his name? The comedian. What is his name? The comedian's fantastic. We've seen no evil.
That guy. Yes.
Yes. I can't remember his name. I loved him in that. He was the best bit.
Yes. No, I'll give you that.
He was good. See, the thing is, I think if you could guarantee Superman, I would cap part of Superman's powers would be the first thing. I'd put limitations on it.
You see, they've done that in what they've done in Superman and Lois, which actually is quite clever. By making him a father, they've made him vulnerable, and it kind of works. Superman as a dad works because it is his vulnerability. And
I think it still doesn't. That still doesn't work.
Look, it does. I quite like Superman and Lois. I mean, it's been hit and miss, but when it's a hit, it's been quite good. The kids can be really annoying, but having the two sons, one having superpowers, one not, it has made it more interesting. And he doesn't seem. Maybe it's the way it's acted, and maybe they have weakened him. That he can't, he does get beaten now and again, and by having the supporting characters in there, that's made it more interesting. But definitely him as a father has been interesting to watch, and it does make him more. It does make him more vulnerable in ways that he has to make choices sometimes, and things like that, and how the family deals with that. That's been interesting to Richard Pryor. Thank you, Biffa.
Thank you.
That has made it more interesting, and the guy that plays him is really good. I mean, I think he's one of my favourite Supermen. I mean, I will always love Christopher Reeves as Superman, but modern-wise, this guy playing Superman has been really good. Like, genuinely really good. I don't know what they're going to do with the next Superman movie that's coming. We'll see.
See, because I a while back in my kitchen in my old house, I came up with an idea for what I would do for a Superman film, and I think the premise was that I'd establish that one, Superman is older than he appears is the first thing, yeah, because he's Kryptonian. The effects of time don't work the same way on him as they do on everyone else. So the idea is that he would have landed when the comic said he landed, but he'd be the age he is now because of everything, yeah? So he would have landed there. And then what you'd have done is you'd have got like kind of little like slices and bits to show why Clark Kent is why like Clark Kent is. So for an example, Clark Kent isn't sporty. And the reason Clark Kent isn't sporty is when he played sports when he was a child, he may have broken some limbs by accident, not knowing, yeah, and he was like having to go through and do that. So you get these little kind of vignettes of him growing up. And then what I would have had is he would have got together with Lana Lang, yeah. His parents would have, it sounds awful, his parents would have died off. He would have inherited the farm with Lana. She would have then died off herself, yeah. He would have then pretended to be he would have pretended to be his child, yeah, and then went off to Metropolis, because Lana's like kind of, the last thing she tells him is like, you need to go out and, you know, help the rest of the world. And then he's got this thing where it's like kind of, because of the way I am, loving people is a little difficult for me, yeah, because I'm gonna outlive them. And then I would have had it so you got Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor, he's got this thing about collecting anything rare and unique. So he'd been collecting kryptonite and other things from other people, like Green Lantern batteries, etc. And then I would have had it so then he would have moved to Metropolis and then kind of gone through that. And then he would have been exposed to kryptonite. And one of the things that being exposed to kryptonite does is it starts to age him. Yeah, so then he becomes a bit more mortal. So the kryptonite, every time he gets exposed to it, it ages him a little. Yeah, so he starts aging like us more. Yeah, and then that's like kind of, that becomes a risk, and that becomes like kind of every time I have to go fight this, there's a chance that I will, you know, die. And it's just to make him a bit more vulnerable. There's a lot more to it. There's like Lex Luthor's thing, because you'd have the Lex Luthor path would be he's he's an industrialist. Sorry, he would have been a scientist, and then he would have had his accident, which caused him to lose his hair. And I would put that in there. Yeah, it would have caused him to lose his hair, and he then becomes an industrialist, and then runs for president. Yeah, and then gets arrested in like all the way kind of through. So he has like a path, and then I would have had it so he does intersect with other characters. So one of the things I would have put in there is I would have put the Flash in there. So everyone describes being rescued by like a red blur sort of thing. And naturally, if I do it right, everyone will think it's Superman, and then you get a big surprise at the end when Flash turns up and helps him out. Second film. But there's more to it than that. But it's just I think Superman is, as I said, because of his power, it's incredibly difficult to write for him. Yeah, you have to get unique in the way you hurt him. Batman, so much easier in comparison. You can pull from so many mysteries and crime dramas and serial killers and this, that, and the other. He's absolutely fantastic for that. And the same things with Spider-Man too, because Spider-Man isn't as invincible as Superman. You've got all those things, but coming back to Superman, I think he's the hardest one out of all the DC characters. Him and then probably Wonder Woman are the two hardest to write for.
Yeah, but Wonder Woman, you can get into the Greek gods, and there's other things that you can do there.
You can, but it kind of start taking it away from like the real world, if that makes any sense. It becomes more fantasy rather than kind of, the world outside your window.
I mean, she's the daughter of Zeus, for crying out loud. So, yeah. I thought
she was the daughter of Ares.
I like the first Wonder Woman movie because they did interesting stuff there. I mean, the second one was dreadful, but the first one was interesting. There was a third. Was there a third Wonder Woman? There wasn't.
No. James Gunn great there.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what James Gunn does with DC and Superman to whether I like it or not. I'm more worried about what they're going to do with Batman.
As I said, I think Batman's going to be fine. I think Batman will be fine.
Don't know, having watched Batman Begins again and loving that movie so damn much.
But you have to understand that Batman in that is a different approach to Batman. Yeah?
Yeah, but I loved it.
Yeah, I know. But but that Batman wouldn't fit in a comic cinematic universe.
I give you that. But I admit, Keaton's Batman, the only thing I liked about the Flash movie was seeing Keaton's Batman again. And I generally did like that. And there were some great moments there. Don't like the movie at all, but seeing Keaton's Batman was awesome. But I don't know what they're going to do. Anyway, we should go through the comments because we've still got a few things to talk about.
Okay, hang on. Let me put the music on. Right, comments. So that's yeah. So thrilled. So thrilled.
3 episodes. What does that tell you? They launched with 3 episodes, right? Just to point this out, when The Expanse came back every season, no, they didn't do that. 3 episodes. 3 episodes they put on. They know they've got a turkey. Talk about it in a minute. By the way, well done for being first in. Beat your wife by 2 minutes.
Then there's the missus. Yeah, no, she's slacking. This one's a bit annoying. The latest adventure will be the final of the Grand Tour featuring Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, James May, set to release on September the 13th, 2024 on Amazon. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be the last one. I think what they're going to do is they'll put it to rest, and then they'll get bored, and then they'll do something. But I don't know what that'll be.
I think this might be all a bit of a red herring. I think this will be the final of the Grand Tour as we know it. But I'm not convinced it's the last time they're going to work together.
No, 5 years from now, we might get something.
I mean, I love Clarkson's Farm. I really quite like Richard Hammond's Workshop. James May, I love his travel shows, but his last one, We Were Robbed. 4 episodes set in India. 4 episodes in India. In India. Right? We should have had a 10-episode season there. I mean, we got 6 episodes when he went to Japan and 6 when he went to Italy. But I like those travel shows. So I like their individual products. I didn't like his cooking show, May's cooking show. But look, that's everybody's...
May did that I think May did that as a favour, so Amazon would have some content.
But I do like his travel shows. And that's what James May is good at. I like his travel shows. And I love Clarkson's Farm and the fact that Clarkson's now opened up a pub. And what's he called it? He's got he's a butcher's and he's selling beer and thing, and he's called Hops and Chops. Genius. We're gonna have to go to his pub at some point.
Yeah, I've been to his farm.
Gonna have to go to his pub. I want to go to his farm just to try one of those burgers because they look good. But yes, no, I'm sad about it. We should go on to the next comment. Chuck has landed
inside Iceland volcano. Is it inside the volcano?
No, but he is planning to get close.
I know he's planning on suiciding a drone in there, which I'm really
I told him don't. If you can get it back, get it back. If you lose it, fine, but you want the 4K footage rather than the thing. Anyway, we're geeking out on drones there. I'm slightly jealous. Yes, it wouldn't be this show without me ranting. I purposely left one story out because I would have gone completely off the freaking reservation. Because apparently, and I'm not going to go off the reservation, so I'm only going to mention it once, and you can guess what I would have said. George R.R. Martin has threatened to release a blog this week telling everybody what's wrong with the House of Dragon. George, there's nothing wrong with the House of Dragon. It's a fucking good TV series. Now fuck off and write that book. And it would have been along those lines, but far worse.
That's what he's going to have on his tombstone. Fuck off and write that book.
Write that book, yeah. Don't release another blog about what's wrong with House of Dragon. Write the book that you promised everybody, you fucking con artist.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, hi, Steve. Sorry, hope I don't fall. Yeah, because he probably didn't sleep on his first class bloody ticket. You got a bed on there. Why don't you sleep? You literally got a flat bed. Right. Disney should cast Amandla Stenberg's Pinocchio because her acting is wooden. Good one, Bill.
I was thinking about throwing her into a wood chipper. Bang.
My 3 acid test questions. Do you like The Rings of Power? No. Do you like Rachel Ziegler movies? No. Are female computer dongles particularly correct? Yeah, like that one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. She was talking about the Jurassic World, the last one. Yeah, it was nostalgic. It was, right? And I geeked out a bit about the sort of like, the guy that got nerdery to do what he did. He was the one that was running that thing. But it was also really stupid, it releasing those bloody locust things, because you knew what was going to happen. And that. But yeah, look, Alan Grant, seeing all those characters back, that was great. And we've already said Richard Pryor, so we know that. Yeah, Biff, James Gunn's Superman will be the next acid test question for us to use.
Hopefully it won't. Hopefully, but you don't know.
I think Tanner's reacting. Sorry. Only 3 hours.
It's great, that is.
That I agree with you, Steve. I think the previous season was 10, and we only got 8 episodes. I think that was partly down to the writer's strike, though, and the actors' strike. I think that's why it was affected. Because I think what was the season final was not meant to be the season final. Yes, and now we're probably going to end up having to wait another 2 years for another season. Can you imagine network television back in the day? 2-year wait for every season of Star Trek. Jesus.
Yeah, it was bad enough we had to wait like 18 months, but that's only because we were 18 months, but it was still being shown in the States. It was because of Channel 4's agreement with whatever, or BBC 2's agreement with whoever, to get that sorted. All right.
I suppose it is only a 5-hour flight from New York. Yeah. Sorry. No, fair enough. Right. So what do we want to talk about first before? Because Rings of Power, shit. I can't. I'm sorry. The actress that they've got playing Galadriel, and the way she goes Salam, the way she rolls it, it's just awful. The Elven King is an idiot. Oh God. This is taking a huge dump on Tolkien, and it just annoys me. And the thing is, they've clearly listened to the criticism, because they're now trying to give you the feels of the movies, right? So they keep chucking in Enya-like music, right? There's a scene where Sauron is blatantly, over the fields, what will become the fields of the dead, where, Frodo, Gollum, and where Frodo first encounters Gollum. And, you've got the sort of Mordor in the distance kind of thing. They show you that to give you the feels. Again, but to be honest, the first episode was, other than like a 20-minute flashback of Sauron getting, stabbed to death by a bunch of orcs, which didn't happen. And then turning into the black goo from the X-Files, right? And then sort of like eating a rat and then a person, and then reforming as Hellbrand, who then, goes on a ship, and then that's when he meets Galadriel. So it's like a flashback of how we got there. Then you got stupid fucking Elrond, who wants to destroy the rings, and you got Galadriel, who doesn't want to do... it's just dumb. And then you get the next episode where an orc husband with his orc wife hugging his orc child. Wow, you understand Tolkien, because you clearly understand what the orcs were all about.
Aren't the orcs like, sounds odd, like mushroom versions of elves? As in they grow out of the ground like mushrooms.
Kind of, but what they are not, is human-like with human-like emotions that you know have wives and babies. It's fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. I mean, it's worse than season 1. And if this gets a season 3, I'll be shocked. But I'm not watching it on Prime. I'm sorry, I refuse to give it. Amazon, you're not getting any viewership off me. That you've taken a huge dump on it. I only watched the first episode and part of the second episode because I've seen the reviews and I thought I'm going to watch this so I can talk about it today. So I'm going to say, don't watch it.
Yes. It says your review, don't watch it. It'll give you eye cancer. Guaranteed.
I did watch Chaos this week. And I don't know where to begin with this. Because on one side you have Jeff Goldblum as Zeus. And chef's kiss. I mean, he is fucking amazing as Zeus. I mean, the guy was clearly born to play him. And then from the opening scene when you're introduced to him and the way he walks through the... It's brilliant, but it's kind of weird, right? It's not American made, it's British made.
Okay.
And it's meant to be Crete, but it's not. It's Spain, and it's obviously Spain. And I don't know how to describe this. It's kind of... It clearly doesn't have much of a budget. I mean, I think they spent all their money on Jeff Goldblum. Basically, they spent all their money on Jeff Goldblum. And it almost feels like somebody who used to go to... It feels like it's made by somebody who our age, who went to Ibiza and Spain when they were young, right? And it has that vibe. It's almost like Greek Gods meets Holiday Reps. That, you know, those really naff ITV sort of Benidorm kind of holiday rep programs set in Spain. You know, it has that feel. Basically, the Greek gods exist. Humans know they exist, right? Which is weird. It's set on Crete, but everybody speaks like they're from fucking South London, right? So it felt like no one on Crete looks Greek or speaks with a Greece accent. It almost feels like the English have invaded the island of Crete, taken over, and they are the Greeks. There's no Greeks on there, which is weird, right? And the basic premise is Prometheus is trying to overthrow Zeus, and there's a prophecy that will basically bring on chaos and overthrow Zeus. And you have the Fates in this, which are like the Fades, right? Who is played by Eddie Izzard, but Eddie Izzard, who is now Edwina Izzard, and 2 other trans people, right? Which is just weird. And there's one point where one of them appears in the desert with a Mario moustache.
Okay, so I know my Greek mythology pretty well. So my first question is Zeus a shagger? I think is the best way, because all of Zeus's stories are him. He shags someone he shouldn't shag, and then Hera finds out, and then she rains all fucking hell. Oh, and loads of things.
Hera finds out and turns them into bees.
Okay,
right?
so there's a lot more. There's a lot more than that. There's the one I there's a story about a character called Argus, the thousand-eyed god, who sees everything, and apparently Argos saw Zeus cheating on Hera, so Zeus turns around to Hermes and turns around and goes, I need to go and kill Argus before he fucking says something to my wife. Do you mind? Yeah, and literally, and oh my god, there's a thing where he fucks a fairy literally on the first day after being married to his wife. He's that bad. So as long
there's
as he's
no
like that,
So there's no fairies in it. You've got modern day Amazonians, right? There's quite a good twist in it. With what's his face in the labyrinth, the
Minotaur, Daedalus,
Minotaur,
Icarus.
yeah. So the Minotaur, the twist around the Minotaur was quite good. You've got Amazonians, you've got Trojans, right? And the Trojans are kind of like this people that are oppressed on Crete, and like they've been thrown into like the horrible block of flats and things like that. So it's set in modern day, right? It's modern day, but kind of like the 80s, 90s. They don't have smartphones. They've all got like Nokia 3710s and things like that, right? And I can't. It's weird to explain. So you've got the fate. The fates are all trans people, right? You've got this actor who I thought was an actor, and he is a he now, but he was a lady in real life as well as in this. He starts off as an Amazonian, and he's an Amazonian who wants to become a man, and you know what happens with when men are born in Amazonian, they're cast out, right? So when you have one that, let's say, transitions, that's even worse. So you've got that in there. But actually, I'll give it to them that they wrote a character around that, and it didn't feel like box ticking. I will give them that. One, I never clicked on at first that it was a trans actor. I didn't. I genuinely thought it was a guy. Well, he is a guy. But I genuinely didn't see that. Whereas the trans actor in like One Piece, you can tell, right? In this, right? But there seems to be a lot of trans in there. Prometheus has got a boyfriend, although I know the Greeks pretty much, Greek gods pretty much shagged anything that moved. But there is like diversity hiring. So Poseidon is played by that. I think he's either New Zealand or Aussie kind of Aborigine guy. You've seen him in a lot of things. I just don't know his name. Right. So Hera is shagging Poseidon, by the way. Right.
Okay.
You've got Dionysus, who is played by an Asian guy, like Indian Asian. Basically, they tick every race except Asians. There's no Asians in this, right? Persephone is your Noah. She's an English black actress, and I've seen her in something. I can't remember where I've seen her before, but you would know her, right? What's his face? Her husband. The god of death.
Which one? Because Hermes is technically god of death.
Hermes.
And then there's Thanatos is the other one.
Hermes is played by the guy that played who was what's his face, Lupin in Harry Potter.
He in fucking I remember his name. I can't remember his name. David Thewles or something along the line like that. He was great in Sandman as the villain in that.
So he's in this. And basically Prometheus is telling you a story. So Prometheus is locked up with the eagle that's, picking at his insides, and Zeus keeps bringing him to talk to him. And every time he does that, it's really quite good. And again, both of them, the guy that's playing Prometheus, you will know, but I won't ruin it for you, but he's a British actor and he's well known. And he narrates it all, right? And then you got Billy Piper, who turns up in the first episode, is really fucking weirdo, right? Briefly in the second episode, then you don't see her again until the final. And the final is quite good, but basically what's happening is that a character dies, goes off to the underworld, realizes that all human souls are being. This is a spoiler. That you see them going into a lake and going through the frame, and then they're meant to be reborn, but they're not. They're going into this hall where they turn into statues, and basically the gods are sucking their souls out, turning it into water, and drinking the water, which gives them their powers and replenishment. And Prometheus basically, the basically stops this happening and chaos is launched. Spoiler. How that happens, I'm not going to say, because there's generally some quite good twists in it. It's weird, right? There's been some bad reviews of it. There are moments in this I really enjoyed. Like every time Jeff Goldblum is on the fucking screen, I mean, just genius casting there.
Yeah.
Hera is well played. But they're all fucking. You don't like them. None of them are not very nice.
They weren't though. If you read the stories,
No.
They were not nice. Hermes was I think Hercules is probably the nicest character in Greek mythology, and it's like Hermes. He sets up bloody Sisyphus after Sisyphus locks bloody death in a cupboard. Yeah, so. In Greek mythology, regular people would be visited by Thanatos, who's the god of death, yeah? Who had a brother called Hypnos. Have you ever heard the expression, sleep is the twin of death? That's where that comes from. Anyway, Thanatos turned up to Sisyphus and he says, he goes, you're dead, I'm bringing you to the afterlife. To which he says no. He tricks him, locks him in a cupboard, and then death stops happening for everyone. So Hades is like, well, hang on a second, what's gone wrong here? So he then summons... he speaks to Zeus, and Zeus turns around and goes, Hermes, go find out what happened. And then he finds Sisyphus, and he then, he then tricks him to rolling a boulder up a hill before the sunlight comes up, which is an impossible task. That's where you get the term Sisyphean challenge from, as punishment for locking death in a cupboard. There you go, a bit of Greek mythology. I do like my Greek mythology.
My problem with it, right, is that, the fact is that no one on Crete is Greek. They're all English, right? So it feels like a bunch of English people on a piss. You have to you'll get what I mean. It's English people in Spain. That's what it feels like. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
I'm probably being slightly snobbish in this, but that's what it feels like, right? It feels like English people. It feels a bit Death in Paradise-y in Spain. In terms of it's just English people.
Oh, if you'd sold it to me as Death in Paradise with the Greek gods, you would have been onto a fucking winner.
But it's not. It's not that, because the problem is, right, look, they cast a trans actor playing a trans character, but they didn't, it wasn't a trans person for the sake of a trans person. The story around them was there, and it was created, and it made sense, right? That this character was born an Amazonian woman, always felt like she was a he, and she's cast out, and then they go after her because she transitions, right? And they kill her, or kill him, right?
Sounds a bit too modern day for me, Keith. That does.
There is some it is a modern day thing there. The problem is the fates. I think there's too much trans there. There was too much gay. It was almost like Prometheus had a gay boyfriend. All three fates were trans people, right? It was too much of it, and that's part of the problem. Whereas, the one character...
I was going to say, going back to Sandman, they did a good, portrayal of the fates. Because it's supposed to be past. It's supposed to be three of them. It's supposed to be past, present, future. There's an old Indian lady, a middle-aged Indian lady, and a young Indian lady, and they were responsible for weaving the tapestry of everyone's fate, and it just
see, the fates were women, and in this they are, one's a woman and two are transitioning men, shall we? Well, one's Eddie Izzard, and it kind of works, but if it just been the fates as the trans and you didn't have the trans character, and then you had Prometheus, and then Dionysus shagging... Okay, Dionysus shagging anything that moves kind of makes sense. I'm not selling it right, because I think you should watch an episode or two and you'll see what I mean. I do want a season 2 of it. Having said all this, I want a season 2 of it, because where it left off was kind of like, okay, if we get another season of this is going to be Jeff Goldblum at his best. And the thing is, when Jeff Goldblum is on screen, it's fucking epic, right? And he was born to play this part. And he plays a Zeus that is a paranoid, thinks he's going to die, thinks everybody's out to get him, discovers that Hera is shagging somebody, and then is kind of led down.
That doesn't sound like Zeus. Zeus was cocky and arrogant,
There's
and
that as
he
well.
would stick his dick in anything that moved, including Ganymede.
There's that as well. You get that because in the 8th episode, when he realizes that they're all fucking him over, right, he becomes boom, right, and then he goes and tries to kill the Fates, right, and you can probably guess what that did. But again, when he does that, when he switches like that, again, brilliant. It works. Jeff Goldblum works. I don't know what I didn't not enjoy it, but I didn't. I'm mixed with it. It passed the 4-episode test for me, but I'm mixed with it.
All right, I'll give it a watch. Biffa put one down in the email for us called what was it called? Kaliki 2898 AD, which sounds very Judge Dreddy. An Indian, I'd like to see an Indian version of Judge Dredd, as long as it hasn't got singing and dancing, because I can't do singing and dancing. I don't have the patience for that. I'm just going to check to see if I can find it.
Doesn't like
musicals. I'm not.
Don't do musicals.
Oh, right. It's Hindi. I can deal with Hindi. Hindi and subtitles. It's recently added, so there is. Yeah, so it does. It is there. So I'll send you the link, and we'll watch that. Watch that for next week. Because as long as it doesn't have singing and dancing in it.
We got the Dark Knight for next week as well.
I can do foreign language. I'm fine with foreign language. Just so yeah, I'll give that a watch. The Kaliki.
Shall we talk about the Prestige to finish it off?
Yes, let's talk about the Prestige. I watched that, and I've noticed a problem of Chris Nolan's that I don't like, and it's in the editing. Yeah. All right. Let me set this up with the editing because when you notice, if you go back and watch Prestige, you'll notice it with the Prestige. Yeah. So everyone criticizes in the Dark Knight Returns where he climbs out the hole, gets out the hole, throws the rope down, and then somebody's back in Croydon or Gotham. It was Croydon. His first shot was in Croydon. I know that area there. It was a crappy car park. I don't know why he filmed there. Because it looks dingy and crappy and probably like Gotham. And you all of a sudden, that something happened for him to get back there, yeah? He stole an aircraft, blah, blah, blah. But it just felt like he went from like that. And you got that when you've got, can't remember his name. Angle? What's his name? Agar? Oh, the character played by Jackman. Robert Anger. Anger?
Oh, the Great Anton.
No. Well, yeah, anyway. You get that impression from him when he's going to see Tesla and back. Because I was watching it going... Because I thought for some reason, my brain thought that it was set in New York. Yeah? And I'm going, there's a lot of fucking English people for New York, yeah? Because if it was set in New York, him going to Colorado is a train journey. Yeah, it's a long train journey, admittedly. It's not a nice train journey, but it's a train journey. But London to New York to Colorado, bit more of a trip, and a lot of time passes. And you never get in the edit, you never get the sense of that time passing, if that makes any sense.
This is because of his geography. Yeah, but he does this in all his movies. He does this timey-wimey thing, and because I've never watched them before, I haven't realised that he does it in every movie. And it's kind of like, actually, now it's getting a bit boring. Whereas people sort of go, oh, it's really clever and it's really thing, because you only watch a Chris Nolan movie every, 2 or 3 years.
2-3 years, yeah.
But now we're watching them in, thing. It's kind of like, I like the Prestige. I like the film, but again, it's because it's the actors. I mean, Michael Caine is brilliant in this movie. Christian Bale is great in this film. Hugh Jackman is great in this film because Hugh Jackman doesn't play a good guy in this film.
Do you want to hear something funny? I don't think Scarlett Johansson was very good in this film. She was just okay.
Her accent.
She was okay.
She
wasn't good
in this film.
I know, but the previous bird who drowned was prettier, I thought. But my choice.
Yeah, well, that's what's her face. The one that was in that Spy. Yes, she's a pretty girl as well. you didn't need the
So-
timey-wimey stuff in this film to make this film.
It wasn't.
If
It
it
wasn't
had
necessarily.
been
I don't think it
linear-
was. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. I don't think it was too. I don't think it was too
But it
timey
starts off
wimey.
with him in jail, and then him going to America. Then it flashes back, and they're all different timelines.
It's. I think the problem is that you don't. It doesn't like. It sounds awful. You know when you have those directors where they turn around and they go London, and it's like 1,000 miles from America, or Egypt to 2,000 miles from America, or something like that. They put it in there so you get a sense. You get like a sense where you are in space and time. He doesn't do that very well, and that's a weird criticism for Chris Nolan because he does everything else really well. And I enjoy everything else. Yeah, the storyline was great, and the twist was great. And I'll be honest with you, it's because I was waiting to get to the end to see if it was based on a book, because it felt like it was based on a book. If that makes any sense. Because I watched it and I was like, it's got to be based on a book, because I don't think they would have, the two between him and his brother would have written this out of nowhere. So I watched it, and yes, it was based on a book, which is great. But there were some great bits in it, like the bit with the boy where he goes, "You've killed the bird," right at the beginning. He goes, "You killed the bird. You killed his brother," and it's like kind of. That's foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen. If you've ever seen foreshadowing in anything, that's foreshadowing. And where his wife is, she goes, "One day you love me, and the other day you don't love me," because you can tell the difference between the two twins, even though she never figured it out.
Which
that
one was
irritated
the father?
me.
Because I think the father is the brother. So I think which one was the father?
Is the
The father of the child.
It was right. So we're gonna say we call Christian Bale A, who had the kid with the woman who he loved, yeah, and then Christian Bale B, who went out off with Scarlett Johansson, yeah. Yeah, and I like the way that they committed the makeup for Christian Bale was quite good, and the other thing too is I think there is a person who they got that looked like them with the makeup on, so they could put them in the background, so it was obvious in places and not so obvious in other places. But I've talked about this point of view about the coin toss. It's there's a game called Soma where it's like kind of you don't transfer, you don't copy and paste, so you don't cut and paste yourself into another machine or consciousness or anything. It's a copy and paste jobby, and it's a coin toss whether you'll be the guy getting pasted into the machine or the one remaining. And they did the same thing here with Hugh Jackman and his Tesla copying machine. And I don't know why he didn't just do it with fucking gold bars. God, he would have made himself rich.
Yeah.
I would have fucked the gold market.
Who is the one that gets put to death? Is it the one
Christian Bale A?
It's Christian Bale A, right? Okay.
Yeah. It's Christian Bale A. But it's funny, when he has the argument with his wife, yeah, Christian Bale A is with the kid and Christian Bale B is with the wife having the argument. Because Christian Bale A wouldn't have had that argument with his wife, and she says, "You don't love me." That's the indicator that's Christian Bale B. So fucking Nolan. You have to have a diagram to understand what's going on, and I spat then.
I forgot that Andy Serkis was in this. I always remember, what's his face as Tesla, but I don't remember. I've forgotten about Andy Serkis being in the film, and that again, Andy Serkis as his assistant works, and that final bit, the fact that Michael Caine basically is the hero. Of the story kind of works for me. I'd forgot. I knew how it. I remember the ending.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten how it started, and I'd forgotten that this did have some timey-wimey, Nolan-timey stuff in it. But I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. It's just something I don't like because it just feels a bit disjointed in places.
No, I know what you mean. I think he overdoes it, and I think he does it in every damn movie. He did it in Batman Begins. He's done.
Yeah.
He does it here, I don't think he does it in the Dark Knight, but I can't remember.
I think he does it. No, he does it. No, he does it. Do it. It does do it in the Dark Knight. But it makes a bit more sense in the Dark Knight because what he's doing is he's trying to make the things look so it does it at 2 points. He does it at the bit where Gordon gets shot, yeah, and the editing is a bit weird, time wise, and then he does it towards the end where the Joker's got the building. When we watch it, we'll cover that. But it's weird because the trick that Christian Bale A and B pull with the transportation thing, I've seen on The Masked Magician. Have you ever seen that? So in The Masked Magician, he likes showing off how the tricks are done, and one of them is the teleport trick. So he has the assistant, yeah, and she climbs into like a little kind of square thing where she's got a stripper pole, yeah, and she stands right next to the pole. This curtain goes up and then drops down. Yeah, and what happens is as it drops down, the assistant has to curl up into a ball, so she's not past the bit for the curtain, and then on the other side, her twin then stands up as the curtain goes up, and then when it drops down, it looks like she's transported. And so, when I first watched that, because I watched The Masked Magician, I knew that that's how that trick was done. But the whole Tesla thing and setting Matey up for his murder was a kind of cooler twist, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the fact that it was real. That's what makes it... What was good about it was that, you know, in many ways Hugh Jackman's the bad guy, but so is Christian Bale, because they sabotage each other and they don't leave each other alone. In some ways, they're both as bad as each other. But you get the impression that B suffered more than A, maybe. I don't know. But there's a comment that Hugh Jackman's character says towards the end. It took more courage to enter that machine every night, not knowing if I was the one that was going to appear on the balcony or the one that was going to end in the tank. And you think about that, and it does get you thinking. But you're right.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just put fucking gold bars in there?
If I was bloody Michael Caine, I would have stolen that to do it with gold bars. The other thing too is the bit
at the end. I like the fact that you don't know if Christian Bale notices all of them.
I think the Christian Bale character just didn't care at that point in time,
which I liked, because that meant he was redeemed.
I don't know if he was redeemed or consumed by revenge, if that made any sense.
Well, he wasn't consumed by revenge, because although he kills him, he had always been obsessed with the trick. Well, no, he wasn't. It was Hugh Jackman's character, wasn't it, that was obsessed with how they did it. The other way round, not so much. Although he did become obsessed with how he was doing that particular trick.
Yeah.
But at the end, he doesn't, because he races down, and that's how he gets caught. That's how he gets caught. But it's A that gets caught and not B. And
the worst thing is that A was trying to save his life. That's the bit that gets me, is that A was trying to save his life, and then he gets bloody hanged for that. Sorry, not hung, that's the wrong, bad English.
Yeah.
He gets hanged for that. And that's, it's not good. I did like what Michael Caine said to I need to remember his bloody name, Robert. I'm going to call him Robert. Yeah, Robert's character, Hugh Jackman, where he turned around and said about the thing about drowning. Yeah, where he turns around and goes, he said, I was a sailor, got caught up in a thing, and he said it was like going home. Yeah, and he said that to lie because his wife had drowned in the thingy to make him feel better. Yeah, and Hugh Jackman had been killing his copies off by drowning them, like his wife had died, thinking that would feel like going home. And then Michael Caine turns around and says, no, it was fucking horrible. And it's like kind of, oh dear, I've been making a bit of a whoopsies here. I like that. It was quite a good thing there that he did. And yeah, it's a good film. It's a good film, but there's some weird editing choices in there. And I think it's the editing thing that gets me. And
I
he's
agree
like,
with you.
if you look, Hugh Jackman's fantastic in it. And it's great that the both of them play obsessions with each other. Yeah. And I couldn't remember what he wrote down on the thingy, but he wrote Tesla down on the thingy saying Tesla was responsible for it. So in a way, Christian Bale's character was kind of responsible for Hugh Jackman's predicament because he just made some bullshit up thinking, yeah, Tesla's the modern day wizard, blah, blah, blah. He'll just go over there. And because the other thing too is you don't figure out that Hugh Jackman's character, Robert Anger, is he's a lord until towards the end. Yeah, so where Christian Bale was sitting there, he was committed to being one person, even though he was two, to help with the trick. Hugh Jackman was pulling off a similar deception with the fact that he was a big old lord with a big old house and whatnot. And it's still a good film. I still enjoyed it, but it's just those little things you go. It's more, and you're right, it is more noticeable now that when you watch one after the other, week after week. Yeah, wait in 2 or 3 years, you forget. A week, it's a bit more noticeable.
He uses the trick a lot. It's going to be interesting watching The Dark Knight for next week. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. All right,
So,
on that note, I think we should say goodbye. I'd just like to point out that I did a poll, and it said, should I be nice to Keith at the start of next week's podcast? And the answer was, and the choices were, no, hell no, why be nice? And the winner with 100% with 3 votes, why be nice?
So that's your wife, Biffa, and Steve, probably.
Yeah, I imagine
guys.
Steve. And on that note, on that bombshell, it's time to say goodbye.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
watching. Bye.